Joe Concha, author of The Greatest Comeback Ever Inside Trump's Big, Beautiful Campaign, which is coming out in April with a great cover, I might add. Joe, welcome back to the show. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. So just to describe the cover, Annie, and Merry Christmas to you as well, I could have gone with any picture, any photo of Trump. There's a billion to choose from, and I insist. At HarperCollins, my publisher, I said, we have to put the McDonald's shot on. It's got to be him waving at the drive-thru. That is the entire campaign right there.
Yeah, it is. And really, it's kind of emblematic of the way I feel like the country feels in response to Donald Trump. He's back. He's going to do his thing. We know that there are people who hate him, but there are so many people that are kind of in play. Maybe they very, very reluctantly voted for Kamala Harris. I think there are a lot of people who voted for her that weren't really so sad when Donald Trump won. And a lot of people who didn't vote for Donald Trump maybe didn't vote for the Democratic candidate either. I feel like all of these people are now in play coming in 2025 for Republicans, something even bigger than Donald Trump, to say we've got a better way of doing things.
Yeah, and it's the coalition, Annie, that we saw that Trump established here where he won a record number of black voters, for example. You got to go all the way back to 1972 to get that percentage of the black vote that he did. Latino voters, the rank and file union members, which used to be completely and totally in the back pocket of Democrats. Young voters, half of all voters aged 18 to 29. We're always told, well, if young people come out, then it's lights out for the Republican candidate. Well, no more. And John Fetterman, I'm so glad you played that clip because I wasn't a big fan of Fetterman, going into that Senate or during that Senate race. I thought he was kind of obnoxious. I thought he had no business taking office because he just seemed he wasn't there, right? And he had to use closed captioning just to understand interviews. And there was just something about him that was real turnoff. I don't know what's happened to him. Maybe he's fully recovered. But he makes so much sense. It really is. I mean, and you have Jonathan Karl, who was doing that interview with Fetterman, and he's written how many books now, Carl, on Donald Trump? Oh, that's right, 3 anti-Trump books. But he's the objective one, right? Trying to goad Fetterman into criticizing Trump. And Fetterman was not having it. He understands. And I wonder if he's going to be like the next Joe Manchin, where suddenly he's the next maverick in the Democratic Party. Or does he even, I don't know if he jumps parties, but he may leave the Democratic Party because he's the only one who's actually making some common sense arguments on that side of the aisle. And he doesn't care. He does not care what criticism he's going to get from his own people on that side because he just doesn't care.
Yeah, it's so nice to see people who are autonomous and really kind of confidently / even arrogantly autonomous and independent, says what he thinks. You can. It is probably the weirdest story arc of 2024 might be Fetterman, and that is saying something. Yeah. Joe Concha, tell us where we've been in 2024. You've written a book about Joe Biden. Everybody in the media now is like, oh my gosh, he's been absent for 4 years. Where's he been? That's unbelievable. So you've written the book on Joe Biden. You've written the book on the Democratic Party, and you've written a book on what comes next. Take us through this arc of time. There's a lot of journey involved in a year or two of days here.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, well, first of all, have you played that clip of Chris Cillizza, I don't know how you pronounce his name, formerly of CNN? He went on the air on Friday on whatever podcast he has from his kitchen, and he says, I do want to apologize. Yeah. I wish I dug harder to find the real truth out about Joe Biden's cognitive condition. You don't have to dig, you moron. It was right there in front of us. Just watch a TV for 2 seconds or listen to him. Watch him shake hands with the air. Watch him tell stories about having conversations with, deceased world leaders. Maybe he could remember his cabinet member names. Oh, no, couldn't do that either. Falling upstairs, Air Force One, falling on stage at the Air Force Academy, falling off bikes in Delaware. 40% of his time is in Delaware. And you had to dig. You had to talk to a source to confirm all of this. So to answer your question, yeah, when I first wrote Come On, Man, and that was the truth about Joe Biden's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad presidency, I wrote that in 2021 and a little bit of 2022. And then I was saying that he had no business being president because I have eyes, ears, and basic sanity. And when I heard him during the 2020 campaign saying, you got to play the record player for your kids at night, you're like, what are you talking about, record player? And clearly COVID saved him during that election. And he's probably the luckiest guy on earth because he had no business even running for president. In 1988, he had to drop out of the race because he was seen to be a serial plagiarist. Right? That's usually the end of your political career. But, Barack Obama needed like an older guy with some experience in foreign policy. So it was between Tim Kaine and Joe Biden. And Biden won that out because he was seen as more likable by union members, I guess. So he fails upwards to the vice presidency. Then COVID comes, and that's the only way he was going to beat Trump because it upended that election completely. And then we just witnessed, I mean, by far, the worst. If you're under 50 years old, if you're like Annie Frey and you're 32, 33, you just witnessed the worst presidency of your lifetime. And Nixon is the only person with a lower approval rating leaving office. And, he resigned, right? So it's horrible. I can't find one positive thing to say about this president. And now these pardons he's doing on the way out the door just tells you he's not a good person, or he's being controlled by people, and they're the ones issuing the pardons.
Oh, man. Joe Concha with us right now. You got 100. Do you have a 135 hard out? I just want to confirm.
Yeah. Oh, well, 235 in my world, but we can go to 236 or 7. That's fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure before I wrap and you've got extra time. When you see Joe Biden doing what he's doing right now in the study that you've put into him, do you feel like he's making decisions, vengeful decisions now? I feel like it's kind of weird to be like he's making decisions now when he hasn't been for 4 years.
Yeah, if you read that Wall Street Journal report, which was just so revealing as far as 50 sources from inside Biden's world talking about how much they tried to conceal him and protect him from obviously the public and from voters. But then you also read the fact that Biden had powerful people around him that just were making policy decisions on their own. And they wouldn't even check with him, right?
Wow.
And it was so, and it matters because, like, for instance, like one Admiral Smith from the Joint Chiefs tried to get Biden on the phone before the Afghanistan withdrawal to warn him that you can't do this, right? The U.S. has to handle security. You can't leave it in the hands of the Taliban. And sure enough, he, ignored it. They couldn't even get him on the phone. The Admiral couldn't. And then we all saw what happened. So it matters because people died, right?
Right.
And it mattered with October 7th and inflation going through the roof, all of these things. And here's a stat to end all stats. He has held 9 full cabinet meetings in the span of 4 years. 9.
That's outrageous.
That's it. He's held 1 this year. He's had 0 press conferences this year solo. Donald Trump had 35 his final year in office. So, yeah, this can't end soon enough, quite frankly. And I said when he dropped out of the race, I said this on your show, I said he has no business being president for the next 6 or 7 months. And now we see the result and what they're doing going out the door. He's going to end up at like 30% approval. And I got to meet those 30% sometime. Like,
what are you doing?
Let's talk this out.
Where are you? What are you paying attention to?
Seriously.
You mentioned that reporter who said I should have done a better job. It's really interesting, and you cover the media quite a lot. It's really interesting that should he have done his job, the Democrats would have had a much better shot at an actual nominee that was probably chosen by the Democratic Party at a much earlier time to formulate a much better campaign. And right now, it looks like nobody's watching the media, on the lamestream, left stream media anymore. People have tuned it out.
They have, because there are alternatives. I mean, I listen to your show even though I'm in Jersey because you can do that. I love the Ruthless podcast, for example. I listen to Rogan sometimes. Obviously those interviews can go on for a long time, and I only have finite time, but it's always interesting when I do, or at least see the clips. And then obviously, Fox News, everybody else is going down. They're losing. MSNBC's losing 50, 60, 70% of their viewers, depending on the show. CNN, same deal. We're gaining viewers still at Fox because, well, maybe, just maybe, we've been honest this whole time, and maybe we're trusted. And, oh, by the way, we have likable people that are actually the same on the air as they are off. And you see, like, CNN trying to do the 5 with that ridiculous Abby Phillips show that's on at, like, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and they can barely draw, like, 350,000 viewers.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, don't. I see.
To your
written
point.
up all the time in media, like, oh, this is, like, the most interesting show ever. No, it's Scott Jennings, like, basically taking somebody to the woodshed. And that's the only interesting thing about that show. Give him a show on CNN.
Amen.
Then maybe with Van Jones, like PTI on ESPN. Like something like that. But they won't do that. They'll just continue to put Brian Stelter on 24 hours a day.
Oh, man. Joe Concha, you are one of those wonderful people from Fox News. We appreciate you. Merry Christmas to you, to your wonderful family. And we hope to talk to you many times in a very, very exciting 2025, which includes your new book, The Greatest Comeback Ever, Inside Trump's Big, Beautiful Campaign. It's available in April. Joe Concha, we appreciate you. Thank you for being with us today.
Merry Christmas, Annie. And yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
No, okay, fine. I'll allow it. Thank you,
Now,
Joe.
I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho. All right, I got to go.
Bye. Merry
Bye.
Christmas. Oh, man. Joe Concha, man, there is nobody who gets more words per minute.